Stepping up defenses, Taiwan looks to bolster the capabilities of its reserve forces. Another dark day for Hong Kong media. International condemnation over the shutdown of a pro-democracy outlet, but Hong Kong police warn of more arrests. Taiwan stands with Hong Kong, a rallying call by activists in Taipei not to ignore the crackdown on press freedom. Deterring DUIs, local governments propose harsh and unusual new punishments for those driving under the influence. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. Tensions in the Taiwan Strait are the highest in decades, and recent opinion polls show that many in Taiwan are not confident in the island's ability to counter any attacks. With projections of more incursions by China into Taiwan's air defense zone, the government is looking to bolster the capabilities of its reserve forces. Jaime Okan has more.
The Ministry of Defense is creating a new agency dedicated to preparing reservist forces for combat. This is part of an effort to improve Taiwan's capabilities. It has a pool of almost 4 million reservists, most of whom have only received non-combat support training. President Tsai Ing-wen urged the nation to stay committed to defending Taiwan. A government-backed poll released by the Taiwan Foundation for Democracy found that roughly 73% of Taiwanese are willing to fight should China use force to achieve unification. But another poll conducted by an independent research center revealed that over half of citizens believe that Taiwan is unprepared for a conflict. In the past year, there have been roughly 950 incursions into Taiwan's air defense zone by China, compared to almost 380 in 2020. And in the face of increasing pressure, Taiwan's defense minister remains confident in the island's ability to protect against any attack.
料敌从宽嘛，对不对？要量级要从严，我们在严格考验我们自己有没有这个能耐去面对。但目前为止可以的。
The government is committed to bolstering its defenses, and preparing its reserve force is an integral part to the country's security. Taiwan understands that ultimately its fate is in its own hands. Kama Xu and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
The United Nations, United States, and Germany are among those who have now condemned the crackdown of the Hong Kong pro-democracy news outlet Stand News. 7 people connected with the platform were arrested on Wednesday, with police warning there could be more. Stand News closure is the latest chapter in a story of Hong Kong's narrowing freedoms as Beijing seeks to tighten its control over the city. James Chater has the details.
Handcuffed, silenced. Stand News' acting chief editor Patrick Lam is escorted by Hong Kong police from the offices of the pro-democracy media outlet. And not long after him, boxes filled with documents, computers and phones from the news site, which was extinguished in an instant. 7 people connected with Stand News were arrested on Wednesday on charges of sedition after some 200 officers swept into the platform's headquarters. Stand News later released a statement saying all operations would be halted, all content removed, and all staff dismissed. But a warning from the police, their campaign is not over.
唔排除咧會有更多人咧係被拘捕嘅，而且咧亦都有一部分人士咧在逃嘅人士咧已經係被我哋係通緝中嘅。
In response, Stand News' senior editor had words of defiance.
立場新聞咧一向都係做專業嘅係新聞報導，呢個係毋庸置疑，大家全世界嘅人都有目共睹嘅。無論係其他乜嘢罪名，其他東西都唔能夠改變呢個事實。
The swift stamping out of Stand News was reminiscent of the dramatic police raid on the popular Hong Kong newspaper Apple Daily, founded by billionaire Jimmy Lai. He is now among dozens of high-profile democracy activists in jail for protest-related activity.
Anybody who attempts to make use of media work as a tool to pursue their political purpose or other interests contravenes the law, particularly offenses that endanger national security. They are the evil elements that damage press freedom.
Stan News's coverage of the crackdown in Hong Kong earned them a nomination for a Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Prize. Among those arrested on Wednesday, pop star Denise Ho, a Canadian citizen and a former board member of the Stand News outlet. Her ominous warning from the protests of 2019, now a reality.
We are all in danger in Hong Kong because we are on the edge of becoming just another China city where we would lose all our freedom of speech, freedom of protest.
Those freedoms were narrowed significantly after the imposition of the wide-ranging national security law last year, a law which officials cited on Wednesday as they praised the raid on Stand News.
Well, we are not targeting the reporter, we are not targeting the media, we just target the national security law, the offenses. If you just won't report, I don't think that is a problem.
But they did report, and for the Hong Kong authorities, it was a problem. Now, all that remains of Stan News's website is a black screen on yet another dark day for Hong Kong. Alex Chen and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
In Taipei, human rights activists gathered to denounce the latest crackdown on press freedom in Hong Kong, warning that Taiwan could be next. Rick Glauert was there.
Speaking up for Hong Kong in Taiwan. The latest attack on press freedom in Hong Kong ignites concerns about China's suppression of critical voices in the region. It's a cold December morning here in Taipei's Xinyi district, but Hong Kongers and their supporters have come out to denounce the latest crackdown on press freedoms in the city. One of Hong Kong's most prominent pro-democracy media, Stan News, disappeared in just hours after its editors were arrested and its assets frozen.
那所有香港的媒体人也都有可能是香港政府下一步肃清的对象。那正就是这些大手捕告诉我们，其实呢，香港我们熟悉的香港已经面目全非了。
Activists waved flags and shouted popular slogans from Hong Kong's pro-democracy protests. Words and actions that would now get you arrested under the territory's wide-ranging national security law.
我觉得香港正在发生的事情，其实给台湾一个很大的警讯。中共政权对于香港的打压越强硬严厉，就表示它越有可能对台湾采取强硬的军事行动。所以我们在撑香港，在支持香港的同时，一样的也是在向国际社会表明说，台湾和香港是站在同样的命运的基础上。
China has always touted the one country, two systems regime under which it rules Hong Kong as an option for Taiwan. It is part of Beijing's vision to bring Taiwan into its fold. But that prospect has become less and less appealing to Taiwanese, who have witnessed the aggressive erosion of freedoms in Hong Kong over the past 2 years. President Tsai Ing-wen has become more vocal in rejecting a closer relationship with China. On Wednesday, she said Taiwan regrets seeing the most recent arrests and called on the international community to stand up for freedom and democracy in Hong Kong. Those gathering on Thursday said they were committed to preventing Taiwan from going the same way as Hong Kong. They called on local and international supporters to join them in protecting one of the only true free democracies in Asia. Asnaya Cho and Rick Glauert for TaiwanPlus.
A U.S. jury has found British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of sex crimes in a high-profile case that implicates her former boyfriend and convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. The jury found Maxwell guilty on 5 of the counts related to recruiting and grooming underage girls who were then sexually abused by Epstein from 1994 to 2004. Maxwell could face up to 70 years in prison. Her attorney said she will appeal the verdict. Relief operations are underway after massive floods in Brazil killed at least 20 people and displaced over 50,000 in the northeastern state of Bahia. Rescue teams in a flooded city of Ilhéus used speedboats to distribute supplies to stranded people and reunite these children with their family. The state's governor says the flooding is the worst disaster to ever hit the region. Heavy rainfall caused 2 dams to collapse, raising water levels. Belgium has scaled back some of its COVID-19 restrictions after widespread protests, allowing cinemas, theaters, and concert halls to reopen. Last week, the government ordered cultural venues to close to fight a surge in new Omicron infections. The measure sparked protests, and some venues stayed open in defiance of the rules. On Tuesday, a Belgian court ruled that closing theaters was not proportionate to the risk posed to public health. The venues are now back in business, with audiences limited to 200 people wearing masks and with proof of vaccination. In New York, dozens of Broadway shows have been forced to shut down just months after reopening from a 1.5-year suspension. It follows a sudden rise in COVID-19 cases affecting the cast and crew of several shows, including actor Hugh Jackman. The closure is a major setback for the industry, which traditionally earns the bulk of its money during the first 2 months of the year. Drunk driving cases are on a rise in Taiwan, and as New Year celebrations approach, the central and local governments are considering taking action to stop those over the limit from getting into the driving seat. Philip Broussard reports.
It was an image that is all too common on the streets of Taiwan. Paramedics tending to the injured among a field of debris. This scene here, the result of a drunk driver hitting a family of 4 on their way to the market in the southern city of Kaohsiung. 1 person was killed. Deaths caused by driving under the influence have risen in Taiwan, with 261 fatalities recorded from January to October of this year. That's an increase of over 9% compared with the same period last year. And it's got the attention of both local and central governments.
今年有点往上升哈，所以这是一个很值得警惕的一个问题哈。那到底是什么原因？那美国是认为说，跟在疫情期间可能有很多人是喝酒，还有就是开快车，另外可能吸毒有关。这是美国的经验，等不等于台湾的经验不清楚。
The Transportation Ministry is now considering tightening laws by proposing measures that include confiscating the vehicles of drunk drivers who cause death or serious injury, and bigger penalties for passengers.
我们现行针对统车乘客的部分的话，是会处罚这个600到3000元这个罚款。那我们也会来研议提高统车乘客的这个罚款。
Kaohsiung City, which has seen the largest rise in drunk driving deaths, has proposed some drastic and unusual new measures. One suggestion is to punish some of those guilty of driving under the influence by making them work in funeral parlors, while another proposes investigating reckless drivers who have ignored previous warnings for premeditated murder. But as the new year approaches, there's one rule that goes without saying. If you drink, don't drive. And if you drive, don't drink. James Rayner, Ken Ning, and Philip Broussard for TaiwanPlus.
Apple has announced that it will place a plant operated by Taiwanese contract manufacturing giant Foxconn on probation until the factory has met required working standards. The plant, located near the southern Indian city of Chennai, shut down after protests erupted earlier this month when more than 150 workers were hospitalized with food poisoning. Apple said in a statement that it was working with Foxconn to implement a comprehensive set of standards to ensure worker safety. The plant in India employs around 17,000 people and mainly produces iPhone 12s and 13s. Coming up, TaiwanPlus's Leslie Liao will bring you some of the lighter stories that grab our attention in 2021. Details after the break.
Hello everyone watching Taiwan Plus. We have a wonderful offer today to make. We have a performance in connection with the Human Rights Days and the New Year of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is the perfect work to start a year with and to commemorate the Human Rights Day. It has this text written by Friedrich Schiller, a text which kind of asks and suggests to all people of the world to be brothers rather than enemies, to work together, to live together, and to enjoy all beauties in the world we have. And so I think this is a wonderful way of starting the year with this strong message. We have a wonderful chorus, the Philharmonic Chorus, the wonderful NSO Symphony Orchestra, and great soloists, and I'm sure you will enjoy this performance very much.
In a year full of breathtaking news, it was great to have some lighter stories to help take the edge off a bit. In today's year-end special, we bring you some of our favorite head-turners, the stories that made us do a double take. This first story is going to put a smile on your face, literally. It's about an elementary school teacher in central Taiwan whose face mask is not only keeping her safe, it's also helping her teach diction. We got a kick out of it in the TaiwanPlus newsroom, and apparently you did too. It got nearly 30,000 views on our Facebook. Bing Wang reports.
Schools have reopened following the outbreak of the pandemic. To comply with COVID-19 guidelines, students and faculty must always wear masks except for mealtimes. This, however, presents a problem for young students as they are unable to see their teachers' mouths.
如果我没有把嘴巴张得大大，他其实分不清楚和这两个音。
Elementary school students are at a pivotal time in learning the Bopomofo pronunciations. The Bopomofo alphabet is the critical first step in pronouncing Mandarin words. To resolve this problem, teachers in Taizong's Dazi Elementary School are wearing transparent masks. This way, they can over-exaggerate their mouth movements. Students can then easily imitate the teacher's enunciation.
现在戴透明口罩可以看得到老师的嘴巴，透明口罩很好笑。
Young students also find these transparent masks funny. Because the masks are so unusual, teachers can see that children are paying more attention in class and having more fun. Chris Ma and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Next time you see Grandpa yelling at the screen, it might be because he's playing League of Legends. Now, I'm not saying I'm a grandpa, but that's definitely why I'm yelling at the screen. Here in Taiwan, a group of elderly gamers is joining millions of other players around the world. Pichi Zhuang reports on how a local charity is using esports for a creative new reason.
Team members working in perfect sync to eliminate the enemy. The competitors are not who you might expect. This laser-focused group is made up of Taiwanese senior citizens. They're all participants in a project operated by Hongdao Senior Citizens Welfare Foundation. 74-year-old Liu Mengde said he was already a veteran video game player and took part in the competition to meet new people. His teammate, Zhang Shuqin, was less experienced. She needed her daughter to stick directions on her keyboard and mouse to help her navigate the controls. All 28 of the competitors are over the age of 65. with a combined age of almost 2,000.
那我们年轻人可以电竞比赛，为什么我不行？我们鼓励他们的长辈们，一个梦要完成他的期望。
Hongdao says it organized the project to help elderly people stimulate their brains, socialize, and learn a new skill. If nothing else, it's a way to bridge the generation gap, proving once again that we are all young at heart. Alex Chen and Pichu Zhuang for TaiwanPlus.
You're gonna get a kick out of this next story. Literally. I know, 2 literallys in one show. I promise I'm gonna stop. But seriously though, the kids in this next story are going to shock you with their ability to kick a ball over a net. We're talking about sepak takraw. It's the most popular sport you've never ever heard of. It's played by millions of people in Southeast Asia, and now it's gaining traction in Taiwan. Ken Ning introduces you to the junior high athletes that swept the nationwide sepak takraw championships earlier this year.
You can kick it, you can throw it, but chances are, unless you're from Southeast Asia, you've never heard of it. Sepak takraw is a sport that is as popular as football in Thailand, Myanmar, Indonesia, and Malaysia. But in Taiwan, it's still finding its feet.
It's been described as volleyball, but for your feet. So how do you play it? I'm at Shilin Junior High School, and their champion sepak takraw team is going to show me how. Thank you. Hey. For me, it's so hard to just keep the ball in the air without letting the ball onto the ground. It's just so frustrating. But these kids from Shilin Junior High School, they are really nailing it.
The efforts of Coach Chen and his athletes paid off. The Shilin Junior High School boys and girls teams swept the nationwide sepak takraw championships in their age group. Klein Wong, James Rayner, and Ken Ning for TaiwanPlus.
If I tell you your outfit is bananas, you might want to go home and change your clothes. Unless you're wearing something made by this indigenous woman who creates traditional clothing from, you guessed it, banana plants. TaiwanPlus reporter Alice Chang has the story of how one Gavilan artisan is helping keep this tradition alive.
Patiently weaving tiny strands of banana fibers together. This 83-year-old woman has repeated this action back and forth for more than 20 years. For Yan Yuying, this is one of the final steps in banana weaving. Her craft starts from chopping and preparing the trunk, then slicing it to extract the threads before they are dyed and weaved. It's a technique that is unique to her Gavilan indigenous community in eastern Taiwan.
Gavilan 人就做啲建筑师啊，物作拢无就对啦，啊继续爱推落去，才袂断去啊。
She is now the only certified expert in banana fiber weaving that still practices the craft. But she hopes her efforts will leave behind a new generation that will keep this special Gavilan tradition alive. Kama Xu and Alice Chen for TaiwanPlus.
Imagine going to a Taiwanese fried chicken shop and buying some chicken, but it's not really chicken. It's a picture of chicken, but it's also worth a lot of money. Yeah, I think you know where I'm going with this one. I'm talking about NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. A local fast food chain, Siyuan Fried Chicken, has become the world's first fried chicken shop to sell NFTs. It started out at the low price of $1 US, but then its value rose 350% in just 3 days. The shop says that owners of the NFT can receive one food item per person. NFTs are powered by the same technology as cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, but each token is unique. They can be used to represent real-world assets like maybe a chicken, but are mostly associated with digital artwork. If you're not sure how to buy an NFT but are interested, the best way is to just wing it. And now a story that's bound to bring you a dose of Christmas cheer. Like a literal dose. Get it? I know I said that I was gonna cut it out, but I lied. It's the Christmas pandemic mashup that you didn't know you needed. Sandy Chi brings us to a church in Taipei where their nativity scene looks very, well, 2021.
A giant syringe is the first thing you can see when you walk up to Holy Family Church. The biggest Catholic church in of all Taiwan is making a bold statement.
我们都进入到疫情进入到3级嘛，所以我就想到今年圣诞节想要做这个疫苗马槽，告诉大家耶稣基督是我们心灵的疫苗。
But a nativity scene shaped like a syringe? Would it be too out there for parish priest Father John Rao? As it turns out, not at all. That point of view is supported by one of the church's most prominent parishioners, former Vice President Chen Jianren. Father Rao says that Chen was very happy when he saw the syringe nativity.
他一看的时候，他也觉得很惊讶哈，你们怎么会有这样的 idea 啊，这样的一个构想？我们说对啊，我说是他给的。
With the Omicron variant dashing a lot of Christmas plans around the world this season, here in Taiwan, a widespread belief in vaccines is making it possible to celebrate with families again.
Again, that was our year-end special on our favorite hedge turners of 2021, hosted by Leslie Liao. Stay tuned all this week as we celebrate some of our favorite moments of the year. So finally today, we leave you with pictures of a pair of beavers at the Oregon Zoo enjoying a snowy walk while collecting some tree branches. Thanks for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app. Stay safe and see you next time.